What if the real reason you're struggling to raise capital is because you're trying to raise capital? Ever think about it that way? What if the real game isn't convincing people to invest with you, but it's by building trust so strong that when they are ready, they come to you? That would be nice, wouldn't it? And what if you had a system, a real safety net, I like to call it a safety net, that automatically nurtures every single relationship until they're primed and ready to invest with you? Whether that's in 2 weeks or 2 years, that's what we're talking about today. And here's the real shift. You have to stop raising capital and start raising trust. Capital doesn't come from pressuring somebody. We all know that. It comes from consistency and trust. Too many capital raisers treat this like a transaction. We've heard this several times. And so many people lie to themselves and say that, no, I really care about my relationships and the people that invest with me. I care about them. Honestly, I think a small part of that is true, but if you really cared about them, you would have raised that money before you had a deal. It's very common for operators to get this opportunity. It's an awesome opportunity. They scramble last minute to gather all the funds. They start calling everyone. They send random emails. They hope and pray that they'll raise the capital. Stop. It's exhausting. Even the experienced ones that I know are doing this very thing. And I'm here to tell you that there is a better way. And that is our mission at Capitallyst Pro, to help others find that better way. Instead, you need to think long term. You're not raising money. You're building true relationships and you're building trust at scale. The key word there is at scale. No more playing small. Stop acting like a small business. Act like a real institution. And here's the truth. Most people don't want to admit this. Most of the people you talk to are not ready to invest. Not because they don't like you or they don't believe in the deal. Not because they don't have the money, but because they need more education. They need more exposure. They need to understand maybe the asset class a little bit better. They need to see your consistency, or it's just not the right time for them. And timing is everything. So what happens? They fall through the cracks in your system. If you have one, maybe you've got spreadsheets, maybe a CRM, maybe you got sticky notes all over the place. And then 6 months later, you think, whatever happened to that guy, right? You start wondering. He didn't disappear on you. You just didn't stay top of mind. Now, imagine this instead. Every single person you ever talk to automatically gets dumped into a system. Remember the safety net I talked about? Then they're getting consistent value from you. They get educated. They see your philosophies and your reasonings behind things. They see your process. They gain trust with you over time. And you can actually see when they're engaging, when they're leaning in, when they're getting warmed up. Now, you're not guessing anymore if they're ready. The system tells you when they're ready. That's the difference between operating emotionally and operating as a professional. So let me give you a simple framework. This is a 3-step framework, and I call it the capital readiness system. Okay, so we're gonna dive in. Phase 1 is capture. Phase 2 is educate and nurture. Phase 3 is scoring and activation. So phase 1 is capture. Now, every conversation needs to go somewhere. Say you're at a networking event, guess what? They go into your system. You're a podcast guest, or you have a podcast guest. Guess where those people go? Into your system. People opt into your website or landing page, into the system. Maybe you have a conversation on social media. Guess what? Into your system. Nothing lives in your head. Stop acting like your brain is a CRM. Nothing stays in your notes app. Everything goes into a centralized platform into your system. I'm going to show you how we do this inside of Capitallyst Pro, and I will show you how we do this with the digital business card. Okay. All right, guys. So what's really cool is each of our users get a custom-made digital business card. This is mine. And as you can see here, we have a QR code, and then also on the back is a chip that all they have to do, or all I have to do during a networking event, is you just hold up the phone to the card. It brings up a landing page and our networking tool. Okay. And what's really cool is instead of getting physical business cards and losing them. You're at these 3-4 day events, they get lost in your luggage or your backpack, and you don't remember who is who. Okay, this right here is the answer to anybody that does a lot of networking. And I'm using this as an example of a lead opt-in and then what happens from there so that you can keep track of them, you can follow up. And so if you're networking with, potential investors, you want to make sure that nobody slips through the cracks. And this is a perfect way that you can follow up, send them to videos, ask them to register for a webinar, and at least nurture them long-term, consistently through automation without really having to think about it. Okay. So what happens when somebody scans my business card? As you can see here in this workflow, this is the trigger. They scan it, they fill out a quick little form, they take a selfie, it gets dropped into this workflow. Okay. Now it adds a tag on what event I went to. So I change this and update this before I go to an event. And it also gets a master list tag. So it gets added to a longer term nurturing campaign. It tags them with my nurturing or networking tag so that I can follow up. I can create a list based off of tags in the system and follow up manually, or just know, this is all the people that I met at the event recently, and I can filter out per tag. Okay. It also gets dropped into a pipeline. So if we come over here, you can see that this gets dropped into the lead opt-in. And at least I can see, hey, they're at the beginning of my flow here. What do I want to have happen next? Okay. Now it sends them a text message. And this is what it says. Thanks for connecting. This is Paul with Capitallyst Pro. This automated text from my work number. And then it gives them my contact as well. So they click this, they can add my contact to their phone if they haven't done so already. Now I have it wait for 7 days just because sometimes these events, 4 days into the weekend, I want to follow up Monday or Tuesday, preferably Tuesday because Mondays are crazy for everybody. So I'll adjust this based on when the event is. Okay. Just because I don't want to have to think about it after the event and I'm exhausted. I just want to do it right before the event so that I know that my system will take care of everybody. Now, after that 7 days, you can come up with some sort of value add. What I love to do, since Capitallyst Pro, we're not currently raising money. Hey, this is Paul Karchner again, the guy with the red beard. It was a pleasure meeting you. I love to provide value. As you probably know, I'm an automation specialist and would love to do a free audit of your website. Okay, could you text me your website URL? They text it over. I do a Loom video of their website, offer recommendations. Okay, so try to provide some value. Don't just say, hey, I want to jump on a call with you, right? We had a good conversation. Let's jump on a call. No, you want to qualify, disqualify, and provide value before you jump on a call. Okay, so not only do they get put into this, what if they don't respond, right? Well, I can keep track of them with the tags and where they're at in the pipeline. But say I get busy, right? They don't respond, at least have them go into something. So we have a core drip. Let's see if we can bring it up here. Let's see. Okay, so say they don't respond, say there's no communication. This, remember in our other workflow, it adds a master list tag. Check this out. That's a trigger. It adds them, it waits 2 days, sends them an email. Okay, so we could add a little bit of more delay on there since 7 days. I have that text going out. So we could add another delay in my other workflow and then add the tag. And then that would give us enough time here. But pretty much everybody in our system that enters in gets put into our core drip. That's why we call it the core drip. As you can see here, we have quite a few people that every single week, they at least get one email. Okay. You want to stay top of mind. You want to provide value and you want to be consistent. So let's jump right back into the YouTube video. Pretty cool, right? Okay, moving on to phase 2. This is the educate and nurture phase. And here's where most people fail. They only reach out when they need money. My business partner, Dallin, likes to call them assholes. That's completely backwards. You should be providing value long before you have a deal. You're sending educational emails, market updates, case studies, frequently asked questions that people have. Maybe you're sending short videos explaining your strategy. And the key, it runs through automation. It runs automatically for you. You build it once, now you have the system for years. We're on the last phase, phase 3. This is scoring and activation. This is where it gets powerful, using a system behind you to really gauge where people are at. So behavior leaves clues. Who's opening your emails? Who's clicking your emails? Who's clicking on your website links? Who's watching your webinar? Who's filling out a soft commitment form? When you track engagement, you can score investor readiness. It's not a magic pill. It's not, this is who's ready, right? But it gauges on who might be ready. Now you're not calling 100 random people, you're calling the 7 who are actually engaging. And now that text or phone call is totally different. Inside of Capitallyst Pro, I'll show you how we track engagement and how you can do the same thing with whatever system you're using. All right, guys, we're gonna show you exactly inside of Capitallyst Pro how we track engagement and how we set it up and how our users can use it as well. So it's called managed scoring or engagement scoring. What's really cool is you can set this automation up inside of the workflows to track based on different actions, or you can set it up as a default setting so that throughout your whole entire system, it will track the actions of your leads. So if you come down into settings, we're going to come over to manage scoring right here. And everybody's different, right? So some people want to track, webinar registrants. Some people want to track different forms specifically. Some people just want to track like if people open and close emails, or open, close, or click on emails. So as you can see here, we have if an email is open, add 5 points. If an email is clicked, add 10 points, right? So there's different things here where you can specifically add customization to adding points. Now, your point system is, I wouldn't say arbitrary, but it's up to you. It's like having stocks, right? How many shares are in this company and how many do you want to allocate or purchase? So that's kind of how my mind thinks about it. Is let's say we have 1,000 points is the total max allotted points for the whole entire system. Now we could add or subtract those points based on engagement. So let's say if a contact changed and they unsubscribed, and we want to subtract 100 points, okay? And then we can hit save and it could add that rule. Say we want to do form submitted. We can check which form it is, whole tons of different forms. Let's do that. And then we want to add 100 points, hit save, and it adds it as a rule. Okay. So that is the power of automation and engagement scoring. Now, inside of your workflows, you can add a workflow that says, hey, when somebody hits this number of points, go ahead and add them into the pipeline, or give them a call, or send this text message that invites them to a webinar, right? So there's a lot of customization, but a lot of people don't know that you can track engagement scoring inside of your CRM. Isn't that pretty cool? This is when capital raising becomes easy, because now the call is totally different. It's a warm lead, not a cold lead anymore. They already know you. They already trust you. Now they're asking specific questions like, okay, what's the minimum investment? What's the time frame? That's a completely different conversation. And here's the part most people miss. Some investors commit in maybe 2 weeks, like I said before. Some invest maybe in 2 years, 4 years down the road, and both are wins, but only if you stay in front of them. Stay top of mind. Without a system, they forget you, you forget them. With a system, they feel like you never left. And here's the irony. Automation doesn't replace you. It actually enhances your relationship, because when somebody finally books that call, they already know your story. They already understand your strategy. They already trust your process. You're not explaining what multifamily or whatever opportunity you have is to them. You're answering real questions, and that's when you know your system is working. They're not asking you, so tell me a little bit about you. What do you guys do again? I saw this something on social, saw this email. They're asking, how much can I invest? That's a huge difference. So let's recap this real quick. Stop focusing on capital raising. Start focusing on building trust with people. Build a system. Build a system that captures every relationship. They educate and nurtures automatically. Scores the engagement and signal readiness. That is your safety net. That's how you stay top of mind, and that's how you scale your company to a professional institutional fund or investment opportunity. And that's how you raise capital consistently without scrambling last minute every time a deal shows up. So if this helps shift your perspective even just a little bit, start thinking systems come first, because the operators who win long-term, they're not the loudest. They're the most organized, professional, the most consistent, and in turn, the most trusted. And trust, it compounds over time. These investors invested here, you stay consistent, they're gonna invest with you again. It really is the most powerful asset you can build. I know I showed quite a bit on this video, but I'd like to break down even more into trust and how our system can do that in a rapid pace and help you build your investor waitlist so that your next raise are more predictable. So click the link below to learn more and join our workshop where we break this down even more. I'll see you there, and I'll see you on the next video.